That is a very, very angry block. Ooh, crikey. That is wonderful. Oh. Hello everybody, it's Barry here. Hope you are well, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to our kitchen. Today, we're testing something that looks like this. This is a chopping board or a chopping block. Now imagine something that is fairly similar in size to this, but is actually mined. It's salt. It is basically salt, a salt block, if you will. Almost what Salt Bae, when he goes to bed at night, probably sleeps on. But what is a salt block? I hear you cry. I got this as a gift for my birthday, actually. Look, that's just an example of it. It is an extremely high temperature mineral, basically. It's mined. I think this one's from Pakistan. It's mined away, and you can use it to barbecue, you can roast, you can bake, you can put it in the fridge, which is where mine is right now, to do that as serving or to chill things. So by the end of this video, I'm hoping to try and showcase not everything. This is not a sponsored video. I just got one as a gift and I was like, oh, this is awesome. We're going to do 4 different things. We're going to do some chocolate. We're going to do a pizza. We're going to cook steak and potatoes. And then we're going to try and do a gravlax with salmon over 3 days. I hope it all works. It can break. You have to temper it, which we'll come on to. I'm not going to go too into depths of like all the background behind it and things like that, but I'm really excited to try this. The first thing we're going to do is chocolate. So that is why it's chilling, and I've got some dark chocolate here that I melted in the microwave about half an hour ago. So it's still melted, but it's at room temperature just to give it a little bit of help. It hasn't told me to do that, but I just think it will make sure it sets, and that's quite important. In this combination, the fattiness and richness of the chocolate are perfectly offset by the heat of the chili, well, not for me, the kick of the lime, and the tang of the salt, but only the bottom layer of the chocolate, whatever the contact point is on that salt block, is what's gonna get that little bit of saltiness. And I think that's depending on the moisture level of the ingredient that's put on there. So if it's slightly wetter, you're gonna get, if I stick my tongue on it, for example, you're going to get quite a salty kick. But if something like more like chocolate, perhaps more oily based as well, it should hopefully be a little bit more subtle, because I do like salted caramel, so we're kind of down that route. It doesn't stay looking pretty for very long, and it should possibly look like that by the time we do our steak, but the flavor will still be there. That's the most important thing. It can crack as well. It can literally break when we do any of these steps, so I'm trying to do it in an order where it's going to hopefully least crack so I can get the most out of it, really. Oh my gosh, that thing is heavy. All right, so here it is. Oh, I'm putting the block on the block. It is cold, but I'm gonna move quickly. Okay, we're gonna do nice little puddles of the chocolate. And apparently within 3 to 5 minutes, it should firm up. You can actually put it with like dry ice and go extreme temperatures in both ways as well, which I find really cool. You could sort of have it ice cold and somehow maybe do some ice cream on it. But then the polar opposite, because the way it's mined, it can go beyond any sort of temperature that I can achieve in the kitchen here. It's kind of cool. And I can now, instead of adding the chili, just go straight in with a little bit of lime zest, which is actually a really cool thing. I've never really had lime with chocolate before. So now I'm just gonna give it the full 5 minutes. And as I say, if I'm feeling it's not worked, just shove it in the fridge. Little salt fact for you whilst that chills. Alexander the Great's horses, apparently, this might not be true, but possibly discovered salt. They licked a hillside and everyone was like, what are they doing? And it turns out that they found salt. Horses did. That might not be true, but it's a good story. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story. That is a true story. Not a wrong fact. All right, so it's been 5 minutes, just sat here doing nothing, and it has actually firmed up on the top. It feels still a little bit with the heat on my hands, that if I put it on there for too long, it could go soft, but that is firm. But what I've suddenly realized is I don't even need the chopping block. I can just have this here and just leave that like that. Oh, let's just go for this one. Oh, look, you see the lime in it? That has worked. I can wipe that down, but more importantly, we want to leave this to get to room temperature anyway. There is our lime chocolate made on a salt block. I just want to show you, if I just hold it up like that, look, there is no traces of salt on there. All right, bottoms up. Oh, wow. You can't even taste the salt. That's amazing. Oh, if you lick it, you can take it. It's like, but it's not too much. It's not overpowering whatsoever. I thought, wow, that's going to just taste like the sea. There was a tip that Jamie Oliver said about putting salt in with melted chocolate, and I do that from time to time, and it works a charm. But that's dark chocolate, which I'm not normally a massive fan of. The citrus and the salt has made that actually really nice. Yeah, just going back to the temperature, at freezing, it can be immersed in liquid nitrogen at minus 321 centigrade. That's pretty good. Oh, and it says it can be heated to beyond hot. So between 400 to 600 Fahrenheit leads to stunning results, but it can actually go beyond that. It's volcanic. You know what I mean? If you have a volcano in your garden, just stick it in that. So next up, we're going to do a pizza dough, but rather than getting the oven blaringly hot at first, which is what I want to do for pizza dough, we are going to take it all the way up to 250C or 230C fan, but I'm going to do that in increment stages just to slowly temper that block. And the great thing is, because the oven's preheating, it can slowly warm up the block with it. I kind of wish that I put it on a baking tray though, because getting that out is going to be blooming hot. And just to say, this is not a sponsored video because I'm not going to mention the brand who it is, and there are a few different companies that do it. It's just, I just never knew this thing existed, and I'm really impressed so far. I think basically just because I ate chocolate though. I do wonder what's going to happen to the dough though, because that's not as wet. There's a little bit of moisture there, but hopefully it will just give it a subtle tang. Now unfortunately, we're going to have to try and slide it off of this. I don't have any cornmeal because that will just fly off. Damn it. So it might not be the prettiest pizza in the world, but we need that dough to contact the salt. So I'm just going to flour it and just hope that it slides a bit. Yeah, that is really starting to bother me actually. Like, how the heck am I going to get it from here? Because that block is going to be insanely hot. So I'm going to double oven glove up. All right, the oven is now preheated to 230. And that is a very, very angry block. Let's get it out and pray that I don't burn myself. Oh my gosh, I can feel the heat in that through those gloves. Wow, okay. Okay. We can actually salvage this. Oh my gosh. Oh my, it's just too hot to handle. I made it slightly too big than the block. Oh my gosh. But here we go. Boom. Couple of minutes, we should have a salty pizza. Which sounds all sorts of wrong. I mean, if you want a salty pizza, just stick anchovies on it, right? Yeah, that situation there, which is why when you go into some pizza places, you see like the cornmeal on the side, cornmeal, couscous, semolina, things like that. If you put that down, because it's kind of like very teeny but firm, it almost acts like little wheels and it will just roll off straight onto there. I didn't have that, but we kind of got by. I can open the oven with the double oven gloves. Oh my word. Oh. Wow. I can feel the heat coming off that. From one block to another. You chill, all right? You just chill. That is so hot. I would say it's just more aesthetically pleasing, more natural, more organic, more rustic. Aww. That is really weird. It is by no means like heavily salted at all, but there's just a real delicate, like a real, just like a dusting, almost like icing sugar of salt along the bottom. Having just the crust then, I really got the difference then because it wasn't mingled in with the ham and the sauce and the peppers. That's actually really stonking indeed, just subtle enough. Wow. So that's been 35 minutes and it's sort of room temperature now, which is fine. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna heat up the block. We're gonna use it as a hot plate. So if you see this, ooh, low flame for 10 minutes apparently, so on the lowest heating, just to drive that heat through. It's probably at that level anyway. Then we're gonna take it medium and warm to cook steak and potatoes on this surface. Bonkers. And I'm gonna fall over if I stay here for too long. Okay, just to say, it is so, you sort of forget, it looks like a chopping board. I nearly put my hand on it. That is warming up a charm. I'm just gonna crank the heat up a little bit. Oh yeah. And we have got a ribeye steak right here. Add some olive oil on and some pepper. There's going to be enough salt, isn't there, hopefully? I mean, the oil should really pull that out. That is ready for our block, but we're also going to cook some rosemary potatoes too and fry them on there. Little baby ones. Chop them up quick. I think I only did half the potato, but just a couple of strips of that, which we will put olive oil on the actual salt block when it comes to cooking those, but steak first, because that thing is blooming hot. Wow. Yep. That's pretty darn hot piece of salt. Our oiled up steak. Did you hear that? Oh yeah. If hot enough, the block immediately seals in by the deep and sweet flavour of the steak, but also gives enough of a salt crust to cut into its richness without being really salty to taste. And apparently the salt will draw out some sweetness from the potatoes, so maybe that's why they do that on fries and stuff. Okay, it's been about 4 minutes already and it's definitely browned, but I'm not sure if it's going to have that salty, crusty seal on it. I want to get that, so I'm going to push it a few more minutes longer. Ow! Ooh! Oil in my ear. All right, here we go. You can see it's almost got this golden crust that's formed around the outside. That could be some of the olive oil that's spilled off. Oh my gosh. It's beautiful. Yes. Check this out. Look where the steak was sat. We can cook the potatoes on those already juices and what the heck was that? It just shatters now. The scorch marks of the block. Okay, for our sins, it's back on the heat. Olive oil this time goes straight onto the block. Okay, and now we are frying potatoes on a block of salt. I'm just turning them over. Oh. But is it me, or is it starting to like bow a little bit? You know, if I get a bit close, is that a bit sunk in the middle maybe? I feel like these will probably be saltier than the steak because of the moisture that comes out of them. But it does say to sprinkle a little bit of freshly chopped rosemary on. I don't think that'll overpower the salty taste. And in that time our steak has rested. And our block, can you see? Woo! Salt Bay would be pretty annoyed about that. Yeah, this thing is angry, but it's done a great job. Cool down, my friend. Right, let's try the steak first. Self-seasoned steak, potentially. That is wonderful. Like, everything in my mind, I think the chocolate probably started off with quite an extreme one. That's been the saltiest, but still enough. It feels like it's part of it, but then also taking the taste just slightly up a notch. It is wonderful. A part of me thought that was going to taste really salty, and I'm pleasantly surprised. So let's try one of our potatoes. I can't taste any salt on that at all. No. That is melt. I thought I might get a bit of steak flavouring in there. I can taste the rosemary, but there's just no, that little spank of salt on there. I mean, they're delicious. They're really good. But I think in terms of saltiness, it was the chocolate, then the steak, then the pizza, and then these potatoes, which are just, I mean, it's not even there. Well, there we go then, folks. It was just a birthday present that I wanted to do in a video, and I'm really glad I did. That was really, really fun. So thanks so much for watching. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already and have your notifications turned on to be aware of all new uploads. And fingers crossed, you might see a bonus scene now of sawing this and doing some salmon for 3 days. Wow.
Check your level, player. No matter what your style, the kitchen's for me. Simon's moustache, goatee, maybe all three.
Alright, one salt block, which has taken 2.5 hours to get to room temperature. I stuck it in my garage as well, which is normally like a freezer. So it's only just at room temperature, it's not even cold. I've got a nice clean blade on my hacksaw. I've got 2 chopping boards here with a tea towel to stop me basically sawing into my worktop, and a little angle to go straight down the middle. Let's see if we can halve this thing. There's salt coming out. I mean, what else is it? Back to the sawing board. Just off camera there, I just turned it over and this just shattered off. That's fine. Oh, just, let me just... I've never made gravlax before, and I believe normally if it wasn't for our salt block, it would be salt in here as well. And sometimes this is actually known as the cure. In here we've got some sugar, fennel seeds and pepper. Fully coat it, and keeping the skin on is a good thing. So the herb dill, we sit the salmon on it, and we now place the other block on top. All we do is wrap that fully in cling film. That will hold it. There it is. It does just look like a massive sandwich. So let's close the fridge and I'll see you in 72 hours. Okay, rather than 3 days, it's actually been 4. So let's get it out the fridge, and it actually doesn't stink that badly, to be honest. Actually, over the last 4 days with the other leftover thing, I did some more of that chocolate. It was just so good. Like, amazing. Milk chocolate with orange as well. Oh! I was a bit worried though that this might not be heavy enough, but it does look, oh my gosh. I'm just gonna, it has squished it massively. Oh, crikey. So we've kind of got like a fish jerky basically, and this apparently is all edible. That feels like a lot of dill. Bottoms up. Oh, that is strong. Oh, blimey. Okay, that is the most saltiest out of all of it. I mean, I'm not surprised it's had 4 days just absorbing that salty flavour. It's just about bearable because the sugar kicks in. Oh, yeah, definitely the most potent. It feels like I am actually swimming in the sea and I've just gulped some water by accident. It really does have a tougher texture, like jerky though. Just one more bit with the dill on. Ooh, crikey. Oh, it's getting worse. Oh my gosh. Alters your voice. Well, that was a thing. It's just really surprising because I'm looking at something, oh, it's quite delicate. And it's like, boom. It's actually okay though, but I generally would like to try standard gravlax now I've done that. I might have to do that in a future video if you guys fancy it. And as for this, if I can get the fishy layer off, I can, I suppose, give it a little scrub and a wash and reuse it. But I think my favourite, if you get one of these, 100% try the steak, try the chocolate. The pizza was okay. I think I could have probably got the block a bit hotter. And this, if you like the sea, give it a try. Ah!